All right, everybody, Mr. Bauman here. This is a practice lesson, not an actual lesson where you have to do a ton of work or anything crazy. And that's not the plan for distance learning anyway. If you've watched my video yesterday, it is linked on Schoology. I kind of gave you a rundown of how that whole distance learning thing or e-learning, whatever you want to call it, is going to work. But the point is, this is not intended to be regular school. It's not the goal, it's not the point. The point is to kind of give you, I guess, a little bit of an education while also keeping your brain active over the next few weeks. We don't know how long that means, but I promise this much. Even though distance learning doesn't actually start until Monday, March 30th, I'm going to put in a few lessons this week, just a few things for you to know about, just so you get a little background information. If you watch, great. If you don't, that's up to you. I mean, let's be honest, some of you love history. Some of you want to learn this stuff, want to take a look at it. Others of you couldn't care less. The good news is you don't have to look at my ugly face or my horrible hair today. It's just going to be a screen recording. We're going to get through about half of section 3, and then I'm going to give you a website to look at that'll be linked separately in Schoology. So, first off, Chapter 27, Section 3, Americans in Wartime is where we start today. You look at the propaganda posters, of course, on the left. It says, Avenge December 7th. If you remember, December 7th, 1941 was the date of Pearl Harbor being attacked by the Japanese Air Force. On the right, talking about using tools. Doesn't matter which one, but basically it's saying that we'll never stop until the cause is won, whether we're fighting on the front lines with our rifles or whether we're using wrenches to build and fix things for our country. On the next slide, on the left, you see help bring them back to you. That's an important one. It says find time for war work, raise and share food, walk and carry packages, conserve everything you have, save 10% war bonds, make yours a victory home. You don't want to lose your home, do you? So you want to have a victory home. The lady on the upper right, the arrow here showing you, she says she'll carry her stuff too, just like the men in war are carrying their packs. My favorite propaganda poster is on the bottom right, though. You cannot beat this one. When you ride alone, you ride with Hitler. God, I love it. Join a car sharing club today. Point again there is that you are helping our enemy, Hitler in this case, if you are not sharing your ride, picking up a neighbor, whatever that means, if you're wasting gasoline or wasting rubber on your tires. Next up, what are you going to do about it? The newspaper clipping in the middle says 5,200 Yank prisoners, that's American prisoners, killed by Japanese torture or Jap torture in the Philippines. Cruel march of death described. Stay on the job until every murdering Jap is wiped out. So again, this is a propaganda poster, of course, multiple tools being used. You remember that from World War I. One of those is a patriotic appeal, so talking about American soldiers, American prisoners being killed. Name calling Japanese people murdering Japs. Also, a little bit of demonization, making that guy in the picture there look evil, hitting an American soldier with the butt of his gun. That leads us to the first thing you can write if you happen to have your note sheet. Don't worry if you don't. You can always pause me and find your note sheet and fill these in if you want, or just relax. We start with the War Production Board. It says the War Production Board replaced what was called the War Industries Board in World War I, but same exact idea. They were focused on the items needed during the war, like guns and ships and aircraft, and also they produced, that should say more than, I didn't realize this, more than 48,000 planes and tanks. We're missing a word there, I believe, and shipped more than 8 million tons of goods. The War Production Board gave factories and businesses no choice but to create items needed during the war, much like in World War I. Car manufacturers were making tanks or airplanes. Vacuum makers were making guns and other things. So the point being, we required factories to change what they did. And of course, again, another propaganda poster on the right. We'll have lots to eat this winter, won't we, Mother? Grow your own, can your own. Again, if people grow vegetables and things like that, they don't need as much wheat and meat, and we can save it for our soldiers. It can happen here unless we keep them firing. Of course, that's to scare people. All right, we'll get that to go. There we go. Unless we keep them firing, that's to scare people to think that, well, what if we don't work to create new tanks and planes? Oof, the Nazis could come here and attack us. On the right, work on a farm this summer, join the Crop Corps. Again, trying to get people to get jobs working on farms. Buy war bonds. So Uncle Sam on the left telling you it takes taxes and bonds. Yes, we could raise taxes to get some money for the war, but if people buy bonds, we don't have to raise taxes as much. On the right, don't let that shadow touch them. Again, the idea of the Nazis coming and, ooh, your kids are in danger, that emotional appeal. We also are talking about rationing. That's the website you're going to look at today. Rationing was a real thing. Unfortunately, I messed up and left my dad's rationing card at school. My dad was born in 1943, just under 2 years before the end of the war. He was born in October 43. War will end in August 1945. I still have his ration book from when he was a little kid, just a baby, and it showed the things that you were limited to. You're limited to only so much fuel oil for your, not only for your vehicles, but also people used to run lights and different things with some different fuel oils. But also they limited the amount of sugar you got, and many other items. They said I will have that rationing card to, yeah, well, someday I hope I'll be able to show you those at school, or maybe I'll have to run up there so one of these days when school's open and be able to grab those. They're pretty cool, just to be able to see them. And also we have little tokens too that people had. But the website you're going to look at will give you a better look at those and what that all meant. There'll be your little follow-up assignment here in just a couple minutes. It says here, you talk of sacrifice. He knew the meaning of sacrifice. This poor soldier caught in the barbed wire and likely killed. Women during the war were very important. You probably recognize that picture on your left that says, "We can do it." That is Rosie the Riveter. She's a fictional factory worker. She was a real person. Unfortunately, just passed away a few weeks ago, the lady who posed for that poster. But she became a symbol of American women's contribution to the war effort. The idea that women were helping in huge ways, working in factories, creating new products that could help in the war effort. Yes, we know that in 1945 women were not allowed to fight in war. That was not a thing that we were doing back then. That didn't happen until the 1990s, almost 50 years after this, in the first Gulf War, when we fought a war against Iraq. Explain that more, hopefully, before the end of the school year. On the right, this is our war. Joined the WAC, the WAAC, the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps. Women, much like World War I, were able to help in lots of ways, going to fight not to fight in the war, but they could do jobs that would then free men up to fight in the war. Oh, and by the way, the picture on the left, some of you saw the fantastic work that Kenji did. Shout out to Kenji if you're listening. Kenji created a "We Can Do It" Rosie the Riveter poster that said at the bottom, "Stop bullying." And that was our contest winning poster that Kenji made for my advisory. So way to go, Kenji. Help from Ellie Imdek, the coloring on that. Kenji did the drawing. On the next slide, to make men free, it says you enlist in the waves today. You will share the gratitude of a nation when victory is ours. On the right, be a Marine, free a Marine to fight. The blueprint for victory on the left is to build guns and tanks and planes and ships. So you can join all sorts of different groups. They're all with us to win. And then on the right, this is a new topic. Silence means security. There was a lot of fear in America, World War I and World War II, that people might be spies, and we shouldn't tell them anything. They encouraged the American government and the army and the armed forces encouraged soldiers not to tell anybody where they were stationed, or especially where they were going next. The idea being that if our enemies knew where we were going next, they would know when we were attacking, or would know where to attack us. And neither of those were things that we wanted for our armed forces to face. So we tried to tell people to keep quiet about it. And a lot of times women knew things that their husbands and boyfriends or brothers or fathers were doing, and they were asked to keep quiet about it. So they weren't spreading that around because you never knew. The fear was that someone might be leaking that information to our enemies. We talked about this before you went to break, but I want to bring it up again. The VV campaign was the African American campaign, victory over the enemy abroad, obviously winning the war, but also victory over discrimination at home. African Americans, like you saw in the movie Tuskegee Airmen, were horribly discriminated against at this time. The Tuskegee Airmen were African American fighter pilots who trained in Tuskegee, Alabama. By the end of the war, they had destroyed or damaged about 400 enemy aircraft and were billed as being some of the, if not the greatest fighter pilots in all the war. Our last topic, we will wait. We are not going to share this one. Forced relocation of Japanese Americans. This will be what we talk about tomorrow. So going back here, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm going to go back actually to the rationing page. Your job is simple. The only assignment that goes along with today is going to be to go to a link. It is linked on my website. Actually, let me see if I can find that. No, actually, I'm just going to have the link set on my website. It's going to be very easy. There's an assignment in Schoology that is set up. You are going to look at a few of the different pages on this rationing website, and when you get to those pages, it'll be pretty easy to follow through. When you get there, you are going to look at some of the different rationed items and also what some of the different tokens and rationing books looked like. Like I said, my dad had one of these. It was pretty cool back at the time, but it's a pretty simple assignment. There's only 5 multiple choice questions on Schoology just for you to practice today. I'm imagining this will take you 5 to 10 minutes, but there's a long link you're going to click on my Schoology page. So again, if you go there, you'll be able to find that pretty easily, I hope. Nothing too painful. Oh, I lied to you. There's probably 10 questions total. 5 are there's some matching and stuff for what different stickers go with. But basically, this is a pretty easy assignment for you to look at, click on, and just learn a little bit about rationing. Again, the goal here is not for you to spend hours, but if you want to look at more of the rationing stuff, you are more than welcome. In addition, I'm going to be linking some other stuff to that page, but it's going to be in what I put in as the optional folder. So there's going to be practice lessons for this week. There will be an distance learning folder that is red on Schoology. So that's where everything will be until we're back to school as normal. God only knows when. First folder will be instructions, or maybe, it'll be a link, will be for instructions, and then there'll be a folder for practice lessons, March 24th through 27th. 4 days of lessons. I'm going to get you through the notes, talk you through those for 5 or 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes each day, and then have just a short couple questions to answer. Then we will, instead of being practice, next week the real lessons will count. They'll actually count for points. You'll only have 2 a week. It's actually pretty easy. So if you don't feel like doing these practice ones or only want to try one and say, oh, I know how to do this, this is easy, great, you're done. If you want to do all of them because you're bored, have at it. I'm also going to link the worksheet pages. If you remember, we did chapter 27, sections 1, 2, and 3 before you left for break. I'm going to link sections 4 and 5 in there, as well as the textbook link. If you want to do those because you got nothing better to do, or because you want to learn a little history, read the textbook for chapter 27, sections 4 and 5, answer a few questions. You'll learn some new things about World War II. If nothing else, keep your brain active. I know I've told you that before, but try. Do the best you can. Have a little fun with this, and whatever you do, get outside. If you want to listen to my lessons outside, I think that's a perfect way to get outside. Get you some vitamin D from the sun, but also keep you from going crazy. Because I know being cooped up in the house is not something I enjoy very much, and definitely not something my crazy kids like very much. Hope you have a great day. Hope you're staying safe. Take care, everybody.